And a lot of artists will actually go around, and there was an immense and huge trade, and relationship between New Orleans and Havana. So I can kind of imagine that it should have been an amazing time. So I'm going to start with some ragtimes by the great Jelly Roll Morton. I will play some by U.B. Blake as well, and James P. Johnston, I'm sorry. And from there, we're gonna explore the music of some of my favorite Cuban composers. So I really hope you enjoy tonight, and thank you for coming. And that composer is Moreau Gottschalk. He, as many Cuban composers from the late 19th century, pretty much, he studied in Paris, and he was deeply influenced by the Paris culture at that time, which the people say was kind of like New York right now. So he trained himself there, and the word is he came back and he dedicated himself to explore through the Caribbean, starting in Cuba. Then he went to Puerto Rico. He got inspired in Puerto Rico. He worked things inspired by Spanish pieces as well. So this is not inspired by a Cuban theme, but there are some elements that it's kind of remind me of Cuba. But it's actually a polka, which called La Colombe, or The Dole, as you like. And by the way, we might be getting into more classical romantic repertoire from that time, so hope you enjoy. So the next composer I will be performing tonight was Cuban composer from the 19th century, and his name is Ignacio Cervantes. In my opinion, he's maybe the greatest piano composer that Cuba has ever given. He went to Paris to study, and he was surrounded by many classical and romantic composers in the time, including Chopin. So he really learned how to write in the style, but in a political situation that he had, he was unable to go back to Cuba. So he's extremely nationalistic in the way his music speaks. So you will feel a lot of the romantic traits that classical music has, but with that sense of rhythm that all of these music have. One thing that happens in the ragtime and in American music happens with this cell that is like Cuban music pretty much has the same cell in everything. So imagine something that is pretty much like a dancehall, and he was able to put those rhythms in a classical setting and in a salon setting, so that people that maybe could, more influential at that time, they could get closer to these Cuban styles. So this is a selection of his Cuban dances. He wrote around 40 of them. I'm not playing the 40 of them, but I will be playing a selection. So I hope you enjoy it. Ignacio Cervantes composed all of these pieces at the end of the 19th century. In the 20th century, what was called the classical music in Cuba and popular music, they kind of started to blend together. So at some point, there really wasn't that definition on whether this is classical and this is popular, because everyone was taking their resources from each other. People took the writing from the classical Paris Romanticism. Other composers like Cervantes took the rhythms and took some other elements. And from this type of dances that you just heard, they were playing at the salons. And from there, a new style was developed, and that was the Cuban Danzon. The Cuban Danzon, you believe it or not, is the national genre of Cuba, and is maybe the one that is the less played right now. It is a style that grew very famous in Mexico, especially in the region in Veracruz. And it started with something that was called Orquesta Charanga, or Orquesta Rígica, and they will play that style with these big timpanis and a lot of horns and clarinets. So it was like a whole arrangement, almost like a symphony orchestra, and they would play all of these danzons. So people will dance them in the salon, and they had a specific step for that. We're not gonna get there now, but before I want to go through a composer that he was not a danzon composer, but he had a really famous life here in New York. His name was Ernesto Lecuona, and Ernesto Lecuona, aside of being a great composer, he was a great pianist. He was actually left-handed, so his pieces might have the most diabolical left hands I've ever encountered in the repertoire, to be fairly honest. There are some anecdotes that he will write the most beautiful melodies, but the pianist will complain about the left hand all the time. And he was a cabaret pianist here in New York. He lived and died here in New York. And he wrote a lot of pieces inspired in both things that they are what defines the Cuban music, in my opinion. The Spanish tradition and the African tradition, specifically from Nigeria, from the Nigeria tradition. So he will make a set of the dances, Spanish dances, and he will make a set of Afro-Cuban dances. I will play one of each. In the Spanish set, one piece is called Ante el Escorial, which is like a big wall that's used to close the gate of the cities in Spain, in Granada, and Andalusia, that kind of style. And the next one, it's called En tres por cuatro, or in 3/4. I hope you got it. One fun fact too, he will write many things in the same key. So don't be surprised to hear a lot of common things. whole work is so beautiful, but the endings are like, why? it's after all of that, time to eat. So a lot of his pieces like that, but the actual explanation that it was that he was a cabaret pianist. So he will often do these endings and will go to the other song and to the other song, and he will write for singers and that. And he didn't actually he didn't publish his own works. So someone else had him published. So he didn't even have scores of his music available. So that might be a reason why the endings are a little disappointing, at least for me. But I really hope you enjoy that. I will follow with one composer that he wrote a lot of the Danzon styles. He was a pianist named Antonio Maria Romeu, and he really made a lot of changes when it came through in the Danzon, because one of the main structures in the Danzon is a rondeau form. A rondeau form, it's what we will call a melody that is, we can call A, then we have another melody that we call B. Then we go back to the melody that is named A, and then we go to another melody, but then we come back to A. Everything revolves around that A melody. And the Danzon took that. As an example of the rondeau, all of that will happen there. The thing about that style is that it used to keep that classical form. Later on, and Antonio Romeu was a great influence on that, the Danzon evolved into a cha-cha-cha. So at the end of the Danzon, instead of ending the Danzon like here, they will do a bridge and they will go to a section called the Montuno. And the Montuno section was made so that people will stop dancing their own steps in the Danzon, and it was more like a free dancing. So the cowbells, the congas, and all of these things that come from the Cuban song, or what we can understand as the salsa rhythm, were involved after in the Danzon. So I'm going to play two Danzons by Antonio Maria Romeu. One is called Almendra, Son de Almendra, or Almond Son. And the other one is called Tres Lindas Cubanas, or Three Beautiful Cubans. Cubanas by the same composer, Antonio Maria Romeo. Before I play, I would like to very much thank a lot of people, starting with Mr. Zach O'Farrell for the advice and the invitation. I would like to thank also the National Jazz Museum. I'm sorry. I will also love to thank Aldia for all of the support into Latin music and Latin jazz artists as well. So, and to end, to thank you for coming in such a hot day to listen to some music. I truly appreciate it. Well, thank you and enjoy the last piece, Tres Himnos Cubanos.